Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for October 17, 2024. We're going to be doing our Week 7 fantasy football rundown here. We just finished our political show, which no one saw. Kenny and I argued about politics for like an hour right before the start. That's why we're starting so late. But yeah, we're going to do our fantasy show now. So please like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description of the merch store. As you can see here, I'm wearing August is Gluttony Month shirt. I actually wore this yesterday. So yes, I don't have two of these shirts. I just wore the same shirt 2 days in a row. So that's how we roll here. Now that I have two kids under three, I don't get to change my clothes that often or shower more than twice per week. That's how we do things. But if you want one of these shirts, you can get them 20% off on the merch store. So we're having a great sale here. So check that out. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. It's the best way to support the show. We had a super chat yesterday from John Sanders. Also, recently in the past, Germ and John and Slew. And before that, Kevin Kovac, Degeneron, Andrew Z, Can't Make an Eagle, and of course Cassandra, as Cassandra reminded me, I have to mention that as well. So all these contributions mean so much because YouTube ads pay nothing. So that's the best way to support the show. Also, you can go to Amazon, buy my books. The third book is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people at Penn State. Or my second book, which is How the 2020 MVP Was Stolen. Aaron Rodgers had his MVP stolen from him from Brett Favre. You can read all about that here in this book. We are joined by Kenny, the cap is fake, who was off last week because of the hurricane. Kenny, how'd you survive the hurricane, and how's your week otherwise?
The hurricane, we actually ended up being pretty minimal, Yeah, there's a lot of people in Central Florida legitimately impacted by the hurricane. So, encourage people if you can help in any way. That's great. Fortunately, my family, we were good. The neighborhood we're in was good. Internet was knocked out and power was knocked out for a couple hours, but pretty minimal. By the next day, we were back to normal. So, I'm very fortunate. I count myself very, very fortunate, very lucky compared to other people in our area.
Yeah, that's the truth. Glad to hear everything was good, relatively speaking. Like Charlie, for example, he just regained power yesterday. It was. I know there's been some bad damage to his house as well. Fortunately, his family's okay. That's the most important thing. But yeah, it just sucks. Like people had it so much worse. So yeah, I definitely want to echo what you said. Definitely contribute if you can. We're donating some clothes and stuff like that. But anyone who can help, it would really be appreciated. Kenny, glad you're okay. Jalen Warren sucks. Well, Jalen Warren's injured. Yeah, Jalen Warren's injured. So we'll see if he recovers. So we're gonna break down every game, and then if you guys have any fantasy questions, just let us know. The Thursday night game from last week was 49ers 36, Seahawks 24. Heartbreaking game for me. I bet on the Niners, but I also had a same game parlay. 3 of the 4 legs hit. The only leg that didn't hit was Jordan Mason over rushing yards. And
he got injured.
He got hurt in the second quarter. He was on pace for like 150 rushing yards. He was 7 shy of the total, even though he got hurt in the second quarter. So that almost hit. So just unfortunate, but it was a huge game from Deebo Samuel. I played him as captain in DraftKings. Actually won first place in the showdown. Although I chopped with 140 people, so nothing. It wasn't a great prize or anything like that, but still, Samuel always has a great game against Seattle. So this is a good opportunity to like sell high on Samuel, buy low on Ayuk. Whereas the previous week was vice versa. I feel like both these guys are going to be super productive. George Kittle, though, the tight end one, I think that's going to remain. And keep in mind, in 2 weeks, it's National Tight End Day, week 8. So you want to get him on your roster for that. You might as well. So Seattle.
National Tight End Day? What?
Yeah, week 8, the last Sunday in October is always National Tight End Day.
I didn't know this.
You didn't know that? Oh my God! It's week 8. They're always like, oh, it's National Tight End Day whenever these tight ends catch touchdowns, and all the tight ends always do well. Like you like that's the week to play 2 tight ends in DraftKings.
I've never heard of this in my entire life. This is. I feel like you're making this up.
No, it's true. It's true. I swear. You Google it if you don't believe me. DK Metcalf struggled. I think he's a buy low legitimately. He had 11 targets, but 3 catches, 48 yards. He's an awesome talent, and he's going to bounce back. So, any thoughts on this game?
My only thought is, I mean, everything you said is right. A couple things, two major things. On the San Francisco side, the Juwan Jennings era, I guess, has come to an end. Sad day because I've had him on our team in our league. I had him. I think he scored. I think the week I played you, he scored 36 points.
That's right. Of course he did.
But he's come back to being what he is, which is a distant, fourth option on the team. Behind the Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle. So unfortunately, the Juwan Jennings era is over. So pour one out for our boys. And then
real fast. I just wanted to show people the bad luck I have in fantasy. This happens all the time. This league, this is like $200 entry. Look at this divisional standings, right? I have 881 points, higher than everyone in this division. I'm 1-5. I'm the second highest scoring team in this league. I'm 1-5.
That's pretty bad.
I know. Anyway, continue. This happens all the time, and you know this.
And so the other thing, Geno Smith has been bad for chunks of this season, and we love DK Metcalf. He's a phenomenal talent. He's underperforming the stats, but I don't think it's Metcalf's fault. I think it's Geno Smith. He's missing him, man. Like, there are opportunities there, and he's just missing it. And so my concern is that going to change? And like you said, like Metcalf's maybe a buy low, and like I think I want to agree with you, but like Geno Smith has been terrible in some moments. Not every game, not like, but he's had some terrible moments, and so I'm concerned about the Seattle offense down the stretch. I love Kevin Walker. Obviously, he's a great player. Jackson and Jigba, even Ty Lockett has, been a little bit productive here and there. I'm just nervous that this offense is going to be inconsistent down the stretch. And I'm just nervous that if you're relying on these guys, come playoff time, or you need to win a big game, late in the year, and one of these guys lays a goose egg because Geno Smith's just terrible. So I don't know what if you have these guys, you probably can't trade them for much. Like, if you have DK Metcalf, you're not like, you're going to have to, if you trade him, you're going to be, trading him at a discount, and you don't want to do that, obviously. So, it makes me nervous. Just makes me nervous. There's really not much to do about it, I guess, other than just maybe be nervous. But if you are nervous, just know I'm nervous with you.
I will say this though, I call them buy low, but you might want to factor this in. His playoff schedule is Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago, 3 of the better defenses in the NFL. So it could be rough down the stretch if you do have Metcalf. But I do think in the meantime, when, for example, he has Atlanta this week, I think he should be able to go off. Kenny, do you want to answer this question from Slew?
Do you own a pair of hit waders? Yeah. Is that like the big, like those like big rubber boots that like come up to your crotch?
I don't know. I think so. I'm not sure. I'm guessing no. Slew,
the answer is no. No, I do not own a pair of those.
Slew, by the way, you asked me yesterday, is -3.5 more or less or equally important in college football? So -3.5 is the worst spread in the NFL because 15.3% of NFL games land on 3. So if you have -3.5, that's why I always say, like, you need a good reason to bet the -3.5. In college football, it's 9.9% of the time the games land on 3. So it's still the most, but it's not as severe. So it's still you'd prefer the 3, but you're not going to have to pay. You shouldn't pay up as much for 3 in college football as you do in the NFL. So did that research before the show.
Nice.
Slapski as 12-man PPR, 2 flex starters: Kyler Henry, Brian Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Higgins, McBride, Wandale, Devontae Smith. It's a good roster for a 12 team, I think. Spears Doodle, Raylan Allen, Wicks. We could probably cut Wicks because he got hurt. Waddle on IR, Nico. And he's asking, making any moves? Do you make any moves here? I think this is a good team. Running back depth, I feel like might be an issue, but if Breece Hall goes down, suddenly you're going to have a stud in Raylan Allen. So if you can, I don't know like what you would do to get that maybe trade Wandale for a running back or something. because
Yeah, can you
Spears
get
is
much
hurt
for
too.
Rondell though, will you?
In PPR, maybe. I mean, he scores double digits in PPR, so maybe you get a guy who scores double digits for as a running back. I don't know. That's the only thing I'd maybe consider. Otherwise, it looked like you have a good team. I don't know if I'd really do anything.
Yeah, it depends on your league. You're like in our league, like none of the guys in our league trade. So like, like you have to
Horrible.
overpay. Yeah, if you could get something for Wandale, I always want to trade. Like if you bring that, can you bring that roster back up for a second? Like, just curious. Like, to me, like my approach would want to be like, can I trade like Higgins and McBride for something, or can I trade like Devontae Smith and something to like upgrade Smith, or like BJ, like Brian Robinson, like he's good, but like I think like he's not amazing. Like, could I trade Brian Robinson and Devontae Smith to upgrade to get an elite player at one of that position? Can I trade Robinson, Devontae Smith to get Barkley? Like, I don't like, probably not, but like that would be the move I'd be trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, with Henry and Robinson, you're gonna be starting them. So like, I was only talking about running back depth. So like, you don't have to really go hard after someone. So and as far as McBride, he has a very easy playoff schedule. I've been looking at this for best ball purposes. So I would keep McBride. I think Higgins you could probably trade. But I really, again, I don't think you really need to do anything. Just maybe try to get some depth. You could probably cut not Waddle, Wicks in favor of like try to get like some RB2. Like if Blake Corum, for example, is available, like try to get someone like him, another backup, or just whatever. Just try to jump ahead of the injury updates. So that's what I would recommend. Just get some good depth instead of like
if Tyler Algier, I checked today, is only owned in 33% of ESPN leagues, which I thought was really low. I was really surprised. He was, maybe it was 38%, but it was under 40%. I was surprised. Kenny Gainwell could be someone, like if Barkley were to go down, something like that would be someone I could potentially target.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, just a high end RB2 is on the waiver wire. Matthias said it comes back down to bad coaching me 1 to 5. Yeah, maybe I should fire myself and get someone to coach my team. I have a great roster. I don't know how I'm 1 to 5. So let me see here. Kenny, what do you think about the Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper trades? I posted the grades on the site, but what do you think about them?
Oh, I haven't looked at your. I gotta go look at your grades then. I think it's hard to know how long it'll take. I mean, Amari Cooper to me is one of the just biggest schmucks in recent football history. I mean, the guy he comes up so small in big spots over and over. I mean, there's so many examples where he just comes up small. So I just I just wish the Bills, like, what if they had like a really good veteran receiver that they could utilize? I wonder what the last 4 years would be like if they had someone like that. And like maybe if they could have someone that, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. Like, why trade away Diggs? Like, I don't know, maybe there's something going on. Like, Diggs has proven he's still really good. So clearly something was wrong. So like, I don't know, you trade away Diggs and then you go get Cooper. Like, I don't understand this move. Like, so I don't know. Cooper's fine. He's a great route runner, but like he comes up small. Devontae Adams, I love, obviously. And I would imagine Devontae Adams and Rodgers, like, they had a great rapport. I would imagine that's back, and they're great. I would imagine that's the case. I think Adams he gets a slight bump. Where did you have him before the trade? Like, where was he kind of in your rest of season kind of thinking?
Well, the problem was he was injured, so it's always hard to rank him.
Injured,
right? I posted the Willy Wonka meme as soon as it was announced that he was going to play. I don't know if you're familiar with that. With like Willy Wonka is like he's in the movie The Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when they see Willy Wonka for the first time. He's like limping around because he's an old guy. He's like limping, and then he like falls down, and then he rolls into he jumps up and like. Yeah, he looks like because you think he's decrepit and then he's like healthy. That's like Devontae Adams. Like he's like he's injured and then suddenly, hey, I'm okay. I'm with.
I get traded to the Jets and my hamstring is healed again. Like, okay, bro. Like, this guy. But like in my mind, like I think this bumps him up like one kind of like a almost like a half tier. Like if he was kind of like a I was thinking about him as a kind of middle of the road wide receiver 2. with the Raiders, he's now like a high-end wide receiver 2, or maybe even a low-end wide receiver 1 with the Jets.
Yeah, just did a best ball draft tonight. Devontae Adams went at 401, which seems about right.
That feels a little low to me, actually, I think.
Yeah, I can see him going third round. And it's about right, I think.
Mid to late third round.
Yeah. You called Amari Cooper a schmuck.
Yeah.
I thought that's funny. I know some people who know Amari Cooper and they say he's a great guy. It's an inside joke. You guys wouldn't get
it. Touche. You got me.
All right. Anyway, just for Packers Super Bowl, you heard it here first. I actually bet the Packers to win the Super Bowl. I got an odds boost token, so I bet $20 on the Packers. So they win, I win $500.
I don't trust that defense at all right now. The Packers defense, I don't, and I'm not even sure I trust Jordan Love to be clutch. Like I thought he was awesome at the end of last year, and coming into this year, I was really excited about him. And I just feel like he's not been as great, so I'm not sure. And the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, he kind of looks checked out. Maybe Devontae Adams will like invigorate him. You know, I for his sake, I hope so. But like, I don't know. I'm not so sure. Also, what did you think of the Robert Saleh firing? I guess I was surprised by it, but I was sure get your thought. Maybe you've already talked about this on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought that he did not prepare his team well. I thought there were a lot of in-game coaching decisions that were terrible. Like kicking field goals at the 3-yard line. Like why not just go for it? And if you miss, like your team's backed up, the opponent's backed up at the 3. Like it just like these little things that he did just bothered me, and so I didn't mind it. And it's fine. Like he wasn't even like the architect of the defense. It's the coach they have now. So, I thought it would have been a mistake to fire him and not like relieve Nathaniel Hackett of his play calling duties. They ended up doing that too. So, I thought it was a good move because I didn't like Saleh. So
no, I don't know. I'm not good. I don't know the inner workings of the Jets organization. I think firing a coach midseason always just feels like it's not baseball or basketball. Like there's so many intricacies of football. It's like you fire a coach, you're pretty much punting on the season. Like the probability of an interim coach leading your team to the playoffs and being successful just like feels so low in football compared to the other sports.
Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. But like if there's a coach who's like detrimental to a team, I think that you should probably do it. And I don't know. I don't think they were going to win the Super Bowl with Saleh. So I feel like they had to try something, but. Anyway, I think it mostly had to do with Woody Johnson being embarrassed on an international stage. That's what I heard. They're all making fun of him, so he just felt, I don't know, it's like insecure or something. So he had to do something. I don't know. Jesse says, "Hey guys, sitting in third, high scoring team, wanting trade suggestions." Well, I'm glad you don't have my bad luck. He has Baker, Rodgers, Kupp, Godwin, London, Olave. I think this is Brian Thomas, I guess. Addison, Brees Hall, Kyron Williams, Chubb, Bowers, Hawkinson. I mean, you have some great depth at receiver there and not too much at running backs. And like, think about like how injury prone Kyron Williams is. And then remember Chubb is coming off the 20 ACL. So you might want another running back. Maybe trade one of the receivers for running back. That's what I would probably do. Any suggestions?
Yeah, there's a lot of receiver depth here, a lot of good receiver talent. And so, I'd be trying to, there's no, you can't really rely on Chubb right now. Like until it's almost impossible to rely on him. So like when I see Chubb, I just assume you've got 2 running backs on the roster, and that's not good shape. So I'd be trying to pack again. I would try to upgrade significantly. I'd go after Saquon or go after maybe Derrick Henry or Bijan. Like, can I trade? Can I trade multiple guys to try to do a massive upgrade? That would be try to go for the home run. Would be my thought. But I think your point is like Chubb. Who knows? Kyron Williams. Like, yikes! That you could be in a situation where you're starting. Whatever. Like I can't even think of who would you'll be starting Miles Sanders at running back if you're not careful.
You're going to pick up Deontay Foreman. Like if Chubb can't make it back, like could be pretty rough. So yeah, try to get another running back. Eagles or Bengals defense this week. I actually don't really like either. This week, I think probably Eagles.
Bengals against the Browns.
The Browns have owned the Bengals. Joe Burrow has never won in Cleveland, and I don't know. I think this is a game where Cleveland could just control the clock and just keep the Bengals off the field. And Myles Garrett just owns Cincinnati's offensive line.
Okay, well, I'm starting the Bengals defense in our league this week, so
okay. Well, there you go.
That makes me not excited to hear.
There you go. I'm starting the Browns defense otherwise.
I mean, just watching the Browns play against the Eagles this past Sunday, they were terrible, and then they just traded Cooper. Deshaun Watson right now is lost. I mean, he just looks. I just going to sound a hyperbole. It sounds like an exaggeration, but like, I don't know that I've seen a quarterback that like has been this bad that should not be this bad. Like we expect, Spencer Rattler, or Will Levis. We expect certain guys to be terrible. Like a guy with this much talent to be this bad is like, I just almost unheard of. I don't know, man. Like it's just, usually you don't see a player get this bad until they're like, until they're like at the end of their career. Like, like in their late 30s, and like this guy should be in his prime still. Like, I don't know if it's off the field stuff. I don't know what happened to this guy. So anyway, I watched that and I salivate at starting a defense against this guy right now. He's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as he is, he was 11 of 11 to start the second half against the Eagles.
The Eagles defense was terrible this past week.
It was awful.
By the way, the Eagles are not a good team.
So they're not a good team now. I feel like they have the talent to be a good team.
They have the talent. I mean, it's the coach.
This is what we were saying about everyone was saying about the Chiefs last year. Like, they lost to the Raiders on Christmas. They barely scored anything. They lost to the Packers on Sunday Night Football. They lost to the Broncos last year. Like, people were saying the Chiefs are not a good team, and they weren't. They were not a good team for most of the year. They got into the playoffs and they won the Super Bowl. Like,
well, it's because they also have Patrick Mahomes.
Sure, yes, but I think the Eagles have a lot of talent, and so if they can figure things out, if they can like tread water and make the playoffs and figure things out come playoff time, I think they can make a run and still win it. But not the way they're playing right now. If they win the playoffs right now, they would not. But
they're not a good team right now.
I think it could be the opposite of last year. Well, last year they started 10-1 and just imploded. I think in the second half of the year, I think they could go on a run. And
the Eagles are at home at full strength. At full strength at home, coming off a bye against a team in the Browns on their third consecutive road game with a quarterback who's totally lost and a bunch of key injuries on defense. The Eagles should have smoked that team. Like, if the Eagles were a mediocre team, they would have won that game 35-10. The fact they won that game, it was in doubt until the final 4 minutes. The Eagles are not a good team right now, and oh gosh, I'm terrified. I hope you're right. I sure hope you're right.
Yeah, what do you think about Stefanski passing up on the? Hey, let's not tie the game. Let's draw it to within 4, and then not get the ball back.
That was a gift. That was a gift.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they kicked the field goal. Like, okay, sure.
Well, how do coaches make those dumb decisions? Like, I don't know. You're not going to get you're likely not to get the ball back. I guess you trust your defense to stop the Eagles at that point. I don't know.
It's so bizarre.
You got to go for the tie, right? At that point, like, what are you doing? Yeah. Kicking a field goal? It does nothing for you.
No, it doesn't do anything. Hey guys, should I trade Mason and Kyler Murray for Hurts and Pacheco? So Pacheco could be back like week 11, week 10 or 11. So yeah, I would do that. Murray is just an injury waiting to happen. Mason's hurt, and he's by the time he comes back, like it could be McCaffrey. Like who knows? So yeah, I would definitely do that. Yeah. Should I trade Jefferson for Amari Cooper? Nice.
If you're in my league, yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's say John says he's Diggs without the headache. Diggs is considered a schmuck by most accounts. But then most receivers are.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Cooper is not Diggs. Diggs is a significantly better player than Cooper. Or Diggs is a significantly better. Yeah, like they're not the same players. Like I mean, Cooper has significant moments in his career where he comes up way small in big moments. I've seen Stephon Diggs like literally will his team to victories by like almost single-handedly. So like, yeah, I don't. Sorry, Mr. Sanders, we disagree.
Well, I do think that Cooper can play like well into his 30s. I think he could be like an Anquan Bolden because he's the best route runner in the NFL. Like, and those type of guys, they tend to
play for
last a
long.
lot longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slew with the 555 super chat. Thanks so much.
Let's
Slew.
go, Slow.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for the college football 3.5 diagnosis. Now, riddle me this: you locked in the Broncos -2.5, -115. That's Thursday night game. Can you think of a scenario where you would take -3 +100 instead? Yeah, I mean, I could talk through my my whole mindset here. So I start like I have all these tabs. So I start like at the left, go bookmaker, all the way to the right to DraftKings. So bookmaker had -2.5, -120, and I was like, I don't know if I like that because I saw they also had the option for -3 +100, and I was like, I'd rather have the -3 +100 than the -2.5 -120, and so I was planning on doing that, but then I saw that BetMGM and DraftKings had -2.5 -115, so I went through that. So the rule is you want to pay the most you should pay for a -3 in the NFL. You mathematically, you could actually do the math. It comes out to -127, but that's in comparison to a -110 line. So it's really a 17-cent difference from the -110. So if you're talking about +100, if you have a -3 +100, the most you should pay for a -2.5 is -117. So this is basically like if this were -3 -110, it would be -2.5 -125, which is still favorable to take that. So that was my breakdown. So if I didn't find a -15, if it was -120, I would take the -3 +100, just based on the math. Anyway,
you use math. I just use my gut, and it's a large gut.
I have this whole Excel sheet on like win probabilities in the NFL, just marginal differences and like how often games land on certain amounts and based on the spreads. It's I should probably make that available to the premium users. I'll have to talk to Dennis about it. Anyway, Belichick said the Manning cast Monday was rather sarcastic when Jets ownership was referenced. I wish I could listen to the Manning cast. I just can't because I'm typing as I'm watching the game, like either recapping this game or typing up stuff for the next week. And if I listen to people talk, then I can't like type. Like it'll come into what I'm typing. I'll actually type what they say, and like I'll be like, oh crap, I have to delete that. So I can't do that. So because I like it, I like it better than the normal broadcast. Anyway, Keenan Allen or Eckler the rest of the year in PPR feels like making a trade just to trade TBH. I don't know. You like Keenan Allen more than I do. I think there's
great this past week.
He was. There's so many There's so many weapons in Chicago, though. He's going to be so inconsistent. Eckler, I like as PPR guy. In standard, I don't. It's I don't know. If you wanted to trade for one of them, I guess I don't have an issue. But any thoughts on that? You're
gonna. I'm kind of looking at my like. Yeah, I think also I would give Austin Eckler a slight bump there. I think I'd rather want Eckler. But I wouldn't. I'm not like excited about Eckler. But if I'm picking, I've got Keenan Allen in our league, and I've started him in one game, and he was terrible in that game, and now he scored 2 touchdowns this past week on my bench. I still won, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't trust the offense right now. It's too inconsistent, and I don't know what I don't want to be relying on that offense if I don't have to.
Yeah. 10 team PPR redraft. Running backs are Hunt, Stevenson, James Conner. I was going to start Conner, but the Chargers have one of the best run defenses in the league. Do I sit him in favor of Hunt and Stevenson? So the Hunt plays the Niners, which I mean they have a good run defense. Just Walker did nothing last week, and Stevenson is going up against the Jaguars, who also have a good run defense. And Stevenson missed practice, so I don't think you have an option here. I think it has to be Conner, and you got to hope that it's a tough run defense, but maybe he catches some passes, maybe he falls into the end zone. I think you start with Conner over those guys.
I think of those 3, Conner is the one I'm definitely starting. I agree with you. Hunter Stevenson, those are not great options. Sorry, Ridge Air. Those are not great options. Check the Stevenson injury. I think I probably lean Hunt, but I'm not excited about either one of them to be honest. Sorry.
I think the Patriots get blown out in London. So anyway, Hurts and Sirianni are not Mahomes and Reed. That is the absolute truth.
That is very
but
true.
but the Eagles they had AJ Brown, and the Chiefs did not have an AJ Brown or Devontae Smith for that matter. So
Mahomes is just so light years ahead of everyone else. I mean, this is going to sound sacrilege to anyone in New England, but I think Mahomes is the greatest quarterback I've ever watched. Like
wow, even better than Nick Foles.
I mean, it's close. Nick Foles is a close second, but I got to give it to Mahomes. I mean, Nick Foles has won 1 Super Bowl. Mahomes has won 3.
Yep.
And so I gotta give it to Mahomes there. But Foles is the second greatest player of all time.
All right. I also have Amari. Should I start him right away playing the Titans? It depends who else you have. But I wouldn't have an issue. I wouldn't be scared to start him.
I wouldn't be.
Tennessee's defense was good in week 1, but they lost Chidobe Awuzie to IR, and L'Jarius Sneed's dealing with an injury. He missed practice today. So it's not a tough matchup. Like it would have been week 1, but not now. So I think you can start him. Diggs actually has been terrible in the playoffs for us. He did nothing in the playoffs last year. It's true. Let's see. I'm sure Levis has a signature turnover. Levis is the worst. We'll get into that and the other game.
I mean, maybe it was terrible. That was the coaching. Like we're watching Diggs be great in Houston right now. So that's the coaching. I don't know.
Has Cooper ever been in the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, wasn't he in the playoffs?
Didn't Cleveland make the playoffs last year with a backup quarterback?
Yeah. It was Joe Flacco, and he was in the playoffs. I think he was in the playoffs with the Raiders that one year. Derek Carr got hurt, and they had to start. Was Connor Cook or something?
But his run with Dallas, there was multiple years down the stretch where they'd be in major divisional games against the Eagles or Giants, and Cooper would just be terrible in those games. Yeah. Okay. I just don't trust Cooper. I don't. If he's your wide receiver 3 or flex, man, if you need him to be good as a wide receiver 1 or 2, I think that would make me nervous.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the London game. Thankfully, there's only one of these dreadful games left. I hate these 9:30 starts. It's horrible. Bears 35, Jaguars 16. The Jaguars looked in command here in the first quarter. They were leading 3-0. They forced Caleb Williams an interception. Looked like they're going to maybe pull the upset, or actually they were favored by the end. So originally an upset. But anyway, Trevor Lawrence missed a lot of throws. I thought he looked bad. I thought Peterson's coaching was horrible. Tank Bigsby looked like Emmitt Smith last week, the previous week against Indianapolis. And for some reason, he starts as my phone's just going off, by the way. My phone is like I searched for Indianapolis. I don't know what it's talking about. Anyway, Tank Bigsby looked great against the Colts. And then first carries, Travis Etienne. And then Dearness Johnson gets a 1st and goal carry at the 13-yard line. I don't know what the hell Peterson's thinking. Evan Ingram, though, comes back, 10 catches on 10 targets. He looked great. But Chicago, Caleb Williams has improved every single week. He looked dreadful week 1. He looked bad week 2. He looked pretty shaky week 3. Looked good week 4. Looked great week 5. Looked incredible week 6. Now, he's had easier matchups, but still a lot better. DeAndre Swift has looked, I don't know how, but he's looked great, but I don't expect that to continue. As we said before, Caleb Williams has a lot of weapons. Cole Kmet, 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 2 touchdowns. DJ Moore, only 4 catches, 20 yards. So there's going to be some down weeks with all these weapons. So just keep that in mind. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah. One, Tank Bigsby is, I think, clearly the best running back on that team. The red zone carries make you scratch your head. Okay, but I would still not be afraid to go with Tank Bigsby. I've had some hot takes over the years, and I've been wrong a lot. But listen, I hate to pat myself on the back, but a lot of my hot takes this summer have come out to be pretty dang good so far this year. And I was all over ATN as being a bust. And I'm sort of sad that I didn't draft Tank in more leagues. By the way, did you know his real name is Cartavius? What a fun name. I'm going to call him Cartavius. Cartavius Bigsby. Anyway, yeah, I like him. The Bears, you're right. Caleb Williams has gotten better every single week. I just still don't trust the offense. It just feels like there are moments where they stall. And I just So I'm concerned about I don't trust DeAndre Swift. Like if you have a DeAndre Swift right now, to me he's the ultimate sell high candidate. Like we've seen this in Detroit, we've seen it in Philly where he has like stretches where he's awesome. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's finally figured it out in year whatever. He's in year 5 in the NFL, whatever he's in. Maybe he's finally figured it out. I think the likelihood is that he fizzles at some point. So I think he's the ultimate sell high candidate if you can right now.
I agree. And take a listen to the Bears schedule late in the year. So starting November 17th, they play the Packers, then the Vikings, then the Lions, then the 49ers, then the Vikings, then the Lions. They get an easy game against the Seahawks, and then they play the Packers again. That is brutal. Most of those teams are in the top 10 of defensive EPA. Seattle is the only one that's not. It's pretty rough.
No, that's pretty. Although I think the Packers defense is, I think a little bit. The stats are a little. What's the word I'm looking for? Deceiving. I don't think they're as good as the stats say when I watch them play. So,
well, I'm just talking about run defense. The Packers, okay, maybe they're not as good against pass. Against the run, the Packers are 10th. So I think like they held Jonathan Taylor in check, for example. They've done well versus the run. So I agree. With what you're saying about unloading DeAndre Swift. I think that's like this point I want to make there. Just the one easy match against Seattle. Chris says, don't forget there's a barn burner in Germany in November, Giants versus Panthers. Yeah, poor people of Munich. They got Chiefs Dolphins last year, and now they get Giants Panthers. So pretty brutal. And yeah, unfortunately, there's only one Germany game this year, and not two. So I have to be thankful about that. I can't stand these 9:30 a.m. games. So bad.
The international games have been 3 London games, 1 Germany game, and then the Brazil game. So 5 international games at the.
Yeah, is there no Mexico game this year? There's usually one Mexico game. I'm not sure if they're going to have one. But usually that doesn't matter because it's always a Monday night game at night anyway.
Right.
Like as long as it's not in Europe. Yeah, I'm looking at there's going to be a Madrid game next year. But no, I'm not seeing a Mexico game. I don't know why. But anyway. Maybe this Giants Panthers will be flexed to like 11 a.m. on Lifetime. I can see that happening. Kenny, Bigsby or Chase Brown this week?
This week?
Yeah.
I think I go. Chase Brown's got to play against the Browns, right? The Browns defense front is decent. I think it's close. Maybe I go Bigsby though.
No.
Yeah, I think it's Bigsby.
I agree. Yeah. F all this in countries. Yes, I agree. Let's keep the NFL in America. That's I don't know, but it's like on one hand I want that, but on the other hand I'm starting to troll Goodell on Twitter saying that he needs to have an NFL game in Ukraine, and if he doesn't do that, then he hates Ukraine. So I go Slava NFL. Anyway, I'm gonna make a shirt to say Slava NFL.
I would buy that shirt.
All right. Ravens 30, Redskins 23. This was it was close for a while, and then Jonathan Allen got hurt. The Ravens did whatever they wanted to in the second half. They led by double digits at some point. The Redskins got a backdoor field goal. The Redskins didn't have Brian Robinson, so they didn't have any sort of running game, although the Ravens haven't allowed like a 50-yard rusher in a long time. So this is all passing. Zach Ertz was the leading receiver. We had the Zach Ertz over receiving prop because the Ravens are so bad against tight ends. McLaurin had 2 touchdowns, looking great. I've been drafting him like late 3rd round in best ball. Derrick Henry it continues to amaze. 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just looks great, but he's had a lot of easy matchups. Like this is one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. So he's not going to do this every week. Zay Flowers had 9 catches for 132 yards in the first half alone, and then he didn't do anything in the second half. Like it looked like he was going to have like one of the all-time performances, and then he just did nothing. And sad for me because I had him in my main DFS lineup. But anyway, any takeaways from this game?
Derrick Henry. I mean, you mentioned him. I was lower on him coming into the year than most people. I think maybe you and I were similar. Like I just thought he was cooked at the end of last year. I don't remember what your thought was on him actually in the summer, but I know I was lower on him because the last couple games with the Titans, he just looked like he lost it, and he looks like Derrick Henry. I mean, he's slow and lumbering, and then all of a sudden he gets that top gear, and he, no man that size should run that fast. It's and I wasn't sure that the Ravens would use him the way the Titans did, right? And they're willing to they're playing to his strengths, where it's like, it's like middle of the third quarter, he's got 10 carries for like 9 yards. It's like, and then all of a sudden, and like he wears the defense down, and then the fourth quarter, he's got he runs breaks off the 75-yarder. Like that's the classic Derrick Henry game. And so I was wrong on Derrick Henry. Yeah, I was just touting on my hot takes and how great I was. So I guess I should admit when I was wrong. Man. Also, as an Eagles fan in the NFC East, Jaden Daniels is so good.
Yeah,
he's really, really good, and it makes me nervous by him being in the NFC East for the years to come. So.
Yeah, I was wrong on Henry as well. The Titans were wrong on him. They were giving Spears carries over him, so they didn't believe in him. I hope this works here. Man, it doesn't show up. I'll have to show this to you guys. I asked Grok to draw me an NFL logo that is yellow and blue and says Slava NFL. It did that in the other tab. Man, it's not nearly as good. I'll have to save that and put it on our shirt, because like the one they made here in the other tab is really cool. Anyway, so yeah, so I was wrong. Yeah, I'll have to. I think Goodell's already banned us from the combine. What else can he do? Anyway, Packers 34, Cardinals 13. So something you said about Jordan Love, that he didn't look good, and you're right. Like he like when he returned from the injury in his first 2 games, like he struggled. But I think that what I said leading up to this game was I thought he would look a lot better in this game, and not because of the matchups, it's because he returned early from his injury. Like he was supposed to return like week 6 originally, and he returned week 4, and so there's 2 first games like he just wasn't himself. And like, but this was the correct timeline for that, and he responded with the 22 of 32 for 258 and 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he looked great in this game. And coincidentally, he had Christian Watson back from injury. By the way, did you see that exchange this one guy had with Christian Watson's dad on Twitter? I thought it was like one of the funniest things. So this reporter, I don't know who he was. I never heard of him, but he was like, "It's like, oh, Christian Watson, I can't believe he's returning from a high ankle sprain so quickly. He could be in danger of re-injuring himself." And Christian Watson's dad like replied to him. He's like, "It was actually not a high ankle sprain. It was misreported. It was something else." And the reporter goes like, "No, it was a high ankle sprain. Trust me." Then his Christian Watson's dad's like, "No, believe me. I'm Christian Watson's dad. It wasn't a high ankle sprain." And the reporter's like, "No, I know what I saw. It was a high ankle sprain." Like this went back and forth. Like this guy just wouldn't believe what he said. Just so funny. So yeah. So anyway, unfortunately, that bad reporting caused me to use most of my fab on Dontavian Wicks. That was not great. I was in that league where I'm like 1-4. I had to try to make a move, Anyway, Josh Jacobs was disappointing. 18 carries, 62 yards. I had him over 67.5 rushing yards. Didn't get there. I know he sat in toward the end of the fourth quarter. Like they're giving the ball to this guy, C. Brooks. I don't know who he is, but so I was kind of tilted when that happened. But still, he should have had more than 60 yards against this bad Arizona run defense. Arizona, they beat the Niners last week. Like definitely a predictable flat spot for them. Trey McBride looked great. Outside of that, not much. Marvin Harrison Jr. suffered a concussion. By the way, Kyler Murray had 2 completions in the first 28 minutes of the game. So not a great showing for Arizona here.
I think Josh Jacobs is probably my favorite try to buy low candidate. He's not scored a touchdown in a while, or maybe not even at all, right? And he I think the stats look, but you actually watch him play, he looks great. Like he looks good. I think there's some bad luck there. He's had some runs called back for inconsequential holding calls. Like if you watch the games, you're like, it actually doesn't look nearly as the stats make him look way worse. and I think he could be, kind of like Tony Pollard was last year with the Cowboys. Like everyone was like, oh, he's not going to score. He's bad. And then like all of a sudden, the last couple of games, he scored touchdowns and he was fine. So like I actually think Josh Jacobs is a great buy low candidate right now.
Okay, well, I hope you're right because I bet him to win the rushing title, and it's not looking good.
Well, I don't. That's I can't help you there. I don't think that's going to happen.
It was 18-1. I thought I got a good number, but apparently not. Let's see. The losing team has suspended Euro Disney. I like it. Goodell said the other day he'd be open to an international Super Bowl. I think that's a fireable offense. I think that's
terrible idea.
Yeah, I and he believes it too. He's the worst. Game in the Gaza Strip scheduled for 2026. Nice. Okay. Augusta says my running backs: Hall, Kamara, Chase Brown, Dobbins, Hunt, Chubb. That's great core. My receivers are London, Neighbors, Godwin, Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Schuster, and my tight ends are Bowers and Hawkinson. Would you do Deontay and Brown for DK? Yes, I would because I love Deontay Johnson. What I worry about is that they might go back to Bryce Young. Like if they keep losing, they're going to be like, oh, like what does it matter? Let's see what we have in Bryce Young. And Bryce Young would be awful for Deontay Johnson. That's my worry there. So yes, I would do
that. Man, I love Chase Brown. But if you got Kamara and Hall and Dobbins, Hunt, like you probably. I might do that. I probably wouldn't do it as quick as seems like Walt would do. I mean, Chase Brown, we haven't gotten to the Bengals game yet, but he finally, like the last 2 games, looks like, I talked him up all summer. I just think he's a great player. I'd be nervous to trade Chase Brown right now.
I like Chase Brown, but there's always the threat of Moss coming back. We'll talk about that, but I obviously would rather have Chase Brown than Moss. So Matthiasen posting his team there. I don't know if you had a question here, but yeah, Strouded. He says Stroud, Darnold, May, Barkley, Taylor, Walker, Bowers, Hawkinson, Neighbors, Cooper, Addison, Odunze, Douglas. Yeah, this looks like a great team. Good job getting that 12-teamer. Why do they give carries to Zach freaking Moss? I have no idea. Teams do stupid stuff. The Jaguars gave carries to ATN and Dearness Johnson over Bigsby in London. Maybe.
Yeah. Although finally this, we're finally at a point where Chase Brown is now. He's getting more snaps than Zach Moss. He's getting more carries than Zach Moss. He's getting more targets out of the backfield. He's running more routes out of the backfield. Like we're starting to see the baton handed off where Chase Brown, and which is what in the summertime I said, hey, I think somewhere between weeks 6 and 9, Chase Brown will be the leading running back for the Bengals, and I'd love to have him down the stretch. Like kind of. So I think it's playing out kind of what I thought.
I have a Chase Brown Rainmaker card. I'm very wait, never mind. Doesn't matter. All right, let's go on to Texans 41, Patriots 21. So the Texans got super lucky early. They had like a couple of I thought bad defensive calls against the Patriots that turned field goals into touchdowns. So it could have been 6-0. It was 14-0. Put the Patriots in a hole. But my takeaway was May was actually moving the chains. At times now he made some bad mistakes for sure. An ugly interception, a strip sack fumble. So he had 3 turnovers in total, but he showed way more upside than Brissett. So that's the good news. The bad news is that he took some horrible hits in this game, and I'm like, man, the Patriots offensive line is so bad. Like I don't know how he's going to last this long. Like I think it's a mistake to play him. Like there could be a David Carr type syndrome, David Carr took 72 sacks, or was it 73 sacks his rookie year, and he just never recovered from that. And so I worry the same thing could happen to May. Although he has the scrambling ability, so he's not going to take all the sacks, but still, it's tough. Demario Douglas is the receiver he wants, 6 for 92 and a touchdown. Kind of cool to see him with like a legit talent at quarterback, to see what he can do. Keyshawn Butte, 3 catches, 59 yards and a touchdown. He played on 55 snaps, so this is like legit production. And he was a good player in LSU. Like he was like initially thought of as a first-round prospect. So he could be something. I've been drafting him late, last round in best ball, 20th round, just hoping I could get something out of him. As far as the Texans are concerned, no Nico Collins for the next 3 weeks. So Diggs and Dell are the guys there. Joe Mixon looked great coming off the injury. Just wasn't sure if he's going to be 100%, but he looked phenomenal. And yeah, not much else to say about Houston. So, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, two things. One, the number of people who told me this summer that Joe Mixon was cooked, and I'm like, I watched him play last year with the Bengals. He looked fine to me. Like he looked good, and it's just helpful. Like I trust my eyeballs. Like I watch him play. I'm wrong sometimes, certainly, but like I watched him play. I'm like he looked good to me, so I drafted him like every league. I got him everywhere,
Nice.
in like 4th round, and I mean I'm like this is dumb. So I just think sometimes like the echo chamber just gets going and gets out of control. So I think we should watch that in the summertime. The Texans look like they're a real team. By the way, trading Cam Akers, like how much of a turd has Cam Akers got to be? Like, like why did the Vikings? Wasn't he on the Vikings? Like, why did they trade back for it? Like Cam Akers actually played decent, like with Pierce and Mixon out. Like Akers kind of played decent. And you would think if you're the Texans, like you're going to make a Super Bowl run, like you're going to try. Like, don't you want to keep a guy with some depth like Akers? Like, I don't know. He's got to be a turd in the locker room. They just don't want him around. Maybe I don't know.
Well, Dari Ogunbowale actually passed him on the depth chart last week in week 5.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It wasn't like Akers played. It wasn't like he played bad. So I think it's just this guy just a turd to every team dump, like the Rams, the Vikings, the Texans. Now the Vikings have him again. Like
yeah.
The Patriots, man. I don't know if Drake May is going to be a great player, but at least they look like a professional offense. Like with him at quarterback, they actually look like they belong in the NFL. He wasn't amazing, but just because to show you when your quarterback is terrible, like your whole offense is broken and like nothing works. And so like they put in May, you're like, okay, like I don't know if this guy's going to be good. I don't know. Like I don't watch, college, especially don't watch like low level college football. So like I'm not watching Drake May at North Carolina. Or what is it, North Carolina he played at? No, where yeah.
Yeah, here comes the North Carolina hate mail.
Yeah,
well, bring it on. I love hate mail. So whatever.
Like they don't count as a real football program. Come on, let's be honest. But you watch this team play this past week, you're like, okay, like maybe there's hope for this. Like maybe like Pop Douglas is going to have some decent games, and maybe Hunter Henry can be sustained. Maybe Stevenson's going to be good when he's healthy. Like you watch this team play with a formidable, not a good quarterback, but at least a professional, like a guy who actually belongs in the NFL. And you're like, okay, like maybe this team is going to be. And so anyway, I hear what you're saying about the potential. Like he's running for his life, like every other play, and obviously that could impact the guy. But like their offense just looks totally different with him at quarterback, and that's got to be good if you own. I own Stevenson in some leagues, which maybe wasn't the wisest choice I ever made, but like I got Pop Douglas in one league. By the way, I refuse to call him by his first name. He's Pop Douglas to me forever. I love it.
Fair enough. The Mario I think is fine. I'm always a big fan of Super Mario. So
some guys I call by their nicknames only. Some guys only by their Tank Bigsby. No, it's Cartavius. Demario Douglas. No, it's Pop Douglas.
Okay, fair enough. I never liked Beanie Wells. I always called him Chris Wells. I hated that name. I don't know why. It always worked me. Like why?
And he was a bird of a human too.
I don't know, but there are guys who like him too. So, all right, people don't know what we're talking about. So, all right, Zach Taylor somehow flies under the radar. That's our political show. As a very inept coach due to the Super Bowl run, he somehow never has his team ready to play. Yeah, I hate Zach Taylor, especially what he did in that Baltimore game. Like the 3, you were off last week. Did you see what happened in that Bengals Ravens game when they got the fumble, then they ran 3 times for no reason against the tough run defense and didn't try to pass? It's awful. Absolutely awful. That's like a fireable offense, I think. Yeah, it's bad. Hey, Diggs BTW, what's up? Sue, people inherit. Yeah. So yeah. Someone code here. Yeah. So it'll be incredible when the bumbling clown Tony Khan ever takes up for his already clueless father. Yeah. Talk about nepotism. It's gonna be so bad. It's kind of like Mark Davis to Al Davis. Like Al Davis is a good owner. Mark Davis screwed up the team calendar. Al Davis, like 1 year, is like, Mark, you're in charge of the team calendar. It's a true story. And then the calendar didn't get released in time, even though that was like his only duty like that he had. So it just goes to show that how dumb or inept. I shouldn't say dumb, but inept Mark Davis is.
Oh.
Perhaps they'll put a swimming pool in the middle of the end zone. That'd be fun. try some things new.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. If your team sucks, you might as well try some cool stuff. All right, Buccaneers 51, Saints 27. This game like wouldn't end. It was like played until like 5 o'clock. Like the 4 other games are going at 4:30. Like this game was still going on with them. I was seeing updates from this. I was seeing like 20-yard run. I was like, who did that? And like I'm not seeing this. And it's just this game that just kept going. So this is crazy. Spencer, the Silver Snake Rattler, 22 of 40 for 243 and 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He looked good in the first half, and then he looked very shaky in the second half. So I'm not sure what to make that. But for anyone thinking, oh, the Silver Snake looks good. By the way, that's another cool nickname. So. Come on, man. It's a great nickname. Anyway,
he doesn't deserve a nickname. He's terrible.
All right, fine. So anyone who's like, oh, Rattler looked pretty good. I would just urge you to keep in mind that Will Levis also looked great in his first game. He had 4 touchdowns against Atlanta, and then we see him now. So once teams have tape on these guys who are not that talented, well, it's actually not fair. Like Rattler is talented. He's just kind of like an airhead, and he's kind of like Will Levis in that way. So I don't know if this is going to be sustainable long term, but it should be fun at least in the short term. He's going to make some cool plays and he's going to make some bad turnovers. This is what you're going to see. Bub Means is his preferred receiver. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are out for Thursday night, so it's going to be the Bub Means show. Another nickname for you. And then Juwan Johnson is going to play more. Alvin Kamara is going to catch passes out of the backfield. They had 8 targets, so. That's how the Saints are going to roll. And then Tampa, Mayfield had like 4 turnovers in 4 consecutive drives, but he had hit 4 touchdowns and 325 passing yards. So very strange game. Bucky Irving looked not good for a while, and then he broke off this like amazing run, and then he scored a touchdown. So his stat line looked great. But Sean Tucker was the leading scorer on DraftKings, and he was 0.3% owned. So I don't know who owned him. But congratulations, I guess. Chris Godwin looked great. The Saints continued to be awful against slot receivers. You had Juju Smith-Schuster do what he did on that Monday night game, and then Chris Godwin play any slot receiver you can find against the Saints, including Devon Bailey this Thursday night. Like any slot receiver just kills them. And Mike Evans got hurt during the game. He came back. By the way, Sterling Shepard is now the number 3 receiver. He passed Jalen McMillan. So he's getting a lot of snaps over McMillan. This is another takeaway. So any thoughts on this like insane game?
Yeah, it was kind of insane. Biggest thought is Baker Mayfield's legit. I once upon a time had him in our league. I had him on my roster for all of like 2 hours. Like I picked him up because I had Brock Purdy, and I picked him up, and I was like, I don't need him. And I dropped him, and like wish I would not have done that. Anyway, Bucky Irvin like is an interesting character. He's super fun to watch. He's fun to watch him play, and like he's not a great player, but he's just kind of like entertaining. And I've talked about a couple weeks ago. I talked him up a bit. I think he's he's obviously going to be owned in most leagues, but I think he's still like only like 40% owned in like ESPN leagues. And like 45% owned in Yahoo leagues. Like he's like under like half of leagues don't own him. So like maybe like they're calculating small leagues as well. So like 8 to 10 team leagues are not going to have a guy like Bucky Irvin on rosters. So if you're in a 12 team league, it's in all likelihood he's probably owned. But I think in every 12 team league, there's at least 1 or 2 teams that probably could afford to drop someone for Bucky Irving. So I would seriously. Yeah. He could be the kind of guy, like if there's a bunch of injuries down the stretch, like he's the kind of guy that you could plug in for flex and could end up being really good for you. So yeah, I think that's good. New Orleans, by the way, Thursday night, if Taysom Hill is healthy, doesn't it just have Taysom Hill like all over? Like, isn't this like a Taysom Hill game? Like,
yeah, he's doubtful. He's doubtful though.
I know it's like it's just sad that he's not going to play. Yeah, he's not going to be healthy. Like, but like, this is like the total Taysom Hill game. This is the game where he like gets like 3 receptions in the red zone and like throws a touchdown. Like, just sad day. We're not going to get Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and Denver's awful against tight ends. Not that he's like a natural tight end, but still, I think I think you're right. Like that would be the Taysom Hill game. So we get the Silver Snake Rattler. By the way, Bub Means is Gerard Means. That's his real name. So I don't know if you want to keep going with Bubs. By the way, Sterling Shepard, 4 carries, 31 yards, which is very odd given that they had so much production for the running backs. It's strange to see Sterling Shepard get 4 carries. Anyway, Eagles 20, Browns 16. We touched on this game earlier. We expected offensive explosions from the Eagles. We did not get it. We had A.J. Brown back. We had with Devontae Smith back and Lane Johnson back. Now, Dallas Goedert got hurt in the first quarter. Jordan Mailata got injured as well. So they weren't at full strength, even though we thought they would be. But still, it was not an easiest matchup, though. Like the Browns are outstanding defensively. The only area in which they struggle is defending number one receivers. And we saw A.J. Brown go off. We had A.J. Brown over receiving yards and for the player prop. So it's cool to see him get there pretty easily. I played Brown in all of my DFS lineups, so that worked out at least. But otherwise, like the Eagles just weren't clicking. They couldn't run the ball. Cleveland, outstanding run defense, so not much of a surprise. Jalen Hurts scrambled 14 times, only picked up 33 yards, which is kind of crazy. So the Eagles just overall just not very efficient outside of throws to Brown. And then as far as Cleveland is concerned, I touched on Deshaun Watson. He was 11 of 11 to start the second half. So this is probably his best game. And, kind of not a surprise because, first of all, the Eagles defense sucks. But second, this is the first game that the Browns had both offensive tackles healthy. In fact, like neither has really played. Like Jedrick Wills returned in week 3, and then he left right away with an injury. Like, so he barely played. John Conklin had not played at all. Like, they were both back in this game. So I think that made a big difference. Not enough to win, but enough to make Watson go 11 of 11 to start the second half. So, like, Watson sucked in the first half. Second half, they actually did pretty well. So still, like, relatively speaking, but still, at least that's some confidence for Cleveland. And Cleveland gets Chubb back this week. So I don't know what you would expect from Chubb. I don't expect much, at least not right away, but still, it might at least make the opponent respect the run. Whereas, like, no one's respecting Deontay Foreman and Pierre Strong. Whereas, like, if you see Chubb back there, you're like, okay, maybe he's going to be good. Maybe we should focus on him a little bit. So that can't hurt Watson. So anyway, any thoughts on this game?
The Eagles defense sucks. We've already said it, but it's worth saying again. And I think Jalen Hurts is barely above mediocre right now. And I think Nick Sirianni sucks. He's a clown. And so and the running game is interesting. Like, they actually had some success running at a couple moments, and then they stopped running. It's like they didn't even try. So I'm just like, did they just think like they were like, well, we don't think we're going to be able to run the ball, and so they just like, I don't get it. To me, like, I love Saquon. I think he's awesome. I think he's probably he's probably the best running back for the rest of the season. Like, he's probably number one fantasy running back. But like, if you own Saquon, like, you got to be a little bit nervous in that, like, they just get away from him sometimes. They just forget he's on the team. And for long stretches of a game, they don't even make attempts. So it's like, this offense was dysfunctional. I got A.J. Brown in our league, and so he was my first round pick, so I got him. I'm going to roll him, obviously, and I don't love it. I don't love this offense right now. They're dysfunctional. Lane Johnson said our offense right now is constipated. That's the word he used. When you're like future Hall of Fame right tackle, like maybe the best player on the team, and in some regards, like when he says your offense is constipated, like that's not exactly like a glowing endorsement of the coaching staff. So if you're an owner of Eagles players in fantasy, I think being a little bit nervous that like they could lay a goose egg at any time, I think is like a fair nervousness.
Yeah.
But it's like A.J. Brown. We just saw what he did, obviously. Like, by the way, A.J. Brown in 2 games has more yards and more touchdowns than like 95% of the receivers, and he's only played 2 games. So he's been awesome. In both games, he's got 125 yards and and a touchdown or 2. So that's awesome. Obviously, he's pretty awesome. He's a great player. Start him. But But man, it does give me a little bit of agita. By the way, the Browns, I've already said it. It's worth saying again. They're terrible. Like, let me take that back. Watson is terrible. Maybe it's not fair to say the whole team is terrible, but he is terrible right now. And I just got to imagine at some point they got to sit him down. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like, we just whatever. We're not going to make the playoffs. We suck. We're just going to roll with it and cut him at the end of the year. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they can cut him. I don't know. Like they're just. I mean, he is terrible right now. And the 11 for 11 start, that was the Eagles. I mean, it was all the Eagles. The Eagles were getting no pressure on him. None. He was sitting back there with 4, 5, 6 seconds. I mean, you would be able to complete passes if you're getting 6 seconds. Walt, come on. Like,
I threw out my back today picking up my son, so I'm not sure if you do that. But no, I think that the lack of pressure, I think, had something to do with the tackles being back. I think that was like a huge difference. I'm kicking myself for not betting the Browns last week. It was like I've been waiting for the tackles to return. Like I've been avoiding them ever since that Dallas game, and for the most part. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bet them when the tackles come back. And the tackles came back, I didn't bet them. So it's just
no. I'm not a gambler. I don't bet anymore these days. But when I saw the line was 9.5, I thought to myself, on what planet are the Eagles deserving to be a 9.5 favorite over anybody? Like, and I look like they wouldn't be a 9.5 favorite over James Madison. Like, what is like what? Like Delaware Blue Hens could come to town and the I wouldn't make the Eagles a 9.5 favorite. Yeah, that was for those of you who are bettors, that would have been stealing money.
Yeah, it would have been. But more hate mail from Delaware and the James Madison. Are they the Dukes? I forgot.
I don't even know what they are.
Yeah. Anyway, so asking was Liam Cohen's offense. What is their EPA? So 6th overall, Sandra said, but 8th adjusted offense. So is Judy worth a stash in deeper leagues? I think in deeper leagues, yeah. I mean, depends how deep you're talking. But especially in PPR, like he's done well in PPR. He's had like I would say like 5 or 7 catches in a few games. And so he's now the number 1 receiver. So in a standard 12 team, I don't know if I'd keep him, but like I said, depends how deep you're going here.
I had him on my roster. I drafted him in the 11th round of our league this summer, and I just cut him today. Like literally.
Yeah.
Like
in best ball, I drafted him in a couple of 13th rounds.
I'm just like, I'm looking at my roster. I'm like, okay, I need the roster spot. Like I look at Jerry Jeudy, like, is he worthy of being on a roster? Probably, but like, is there ever a moment where I'm going to start him with any level of confidence? Like the answer is no. Like I'm never going to put him in. I'm never going to start him. Like you're never going to start Jerry Jeudy and feel good about it. And unless you're just totally decimated. And even then, if you're totally decimated, you'll probably find someone on the waiver wire you like more than Jeudy.
Yeah. Those best ball, as I said, their 13th round. That's this week 7 onward. I've been getting him in 13th round, which I think is okay. It's like my 5th or 6th receiver. So he can be prone to some decent games. But you don't, like I said, you don't want to start him. But when you're talking about best ball, it's different. Right. All right. So last of the early games, we had Colts beating the Titans 20-17. The Titans led for most of this game. Tony Pollard had a good performance and 93 yards in the touchdown. He had a really cool touchdown run. Will Levis in the first half wasn't that bad. He had like 90 yards in the touchdown. I'm like, okay, this is looking pretty good here. And then he just did like nothing in the second half. It was just so brutal. He was horrible. He threw ugly interception. This like one of the best stat lines you ever see. And we had a beauty from Bo Nix a couple weeks ago, but Calvin Ridley, 8 targets, 0 catches. Like how in the world does that happen? He is the first receiver in 12 years to record 8+ targets and not catch a pass. That is unbelievable. And by the way, Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Will Levis has passing yards this year. So that's just I don't know what to say about that. But as far as the Colts are concerned, Flacco, decent performance, not great. Josh Downs is like their number 1 receiver now. I think he's so explosive, and Pittman's banged up a little bit, but still Downs has been killing it ever since he's returned. I love Josh Downs. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson's going to play this week. He's practicing fully, so that's a downgrade to Downs. But it's downgrade to everyone, I think, except for like Alex Pierce. And expect Jonathan Taylor to be out at least one more week, so we get more Goodson. Sermon got banged up, so if you're desperate, you can pick up Goodson, I suppose. So any thoughts here? Yeah,
I would not feel good about that.
No,
the Tennessee Titans. A moment ago I was confessing one of my sins, one of my mistakes, and I think I have to. I think how dare you besmirch? Sorry, President Biden. I got distracted. Oh, we're talking about Will Levis. There was once upon a time where I was a slight Will Levis defender, very slight. But even that slight defense was clearly misguided. This guy's bad at football. This guy doesn't belong in the NFL. Like, I think he's terrible. And it's the opposite of what I felt with Drake May in New England. It was like, okay, that offense was absolutely dreadful. They put in May and like, okay, like they're not amazing, but like they're clearly more competent. With Carolina, they were terrible with Bryce Young. They put in Andy Dalton. Like, he's not amazing, but like at least like they're competent. Like, at least the fantasy options on that team are going to be valuable. Like, you could actually start a Deontay Johnson now. The Tennessee Titans players, like some of those Calvin Ridley targets, they're all like a lot of them were just Levis being terrible, just like off throws. Like, it's like some of those targets, like I'm not even sure it's even fair to call them targets because, like, yeah, there's no way Ridley's going to catch that ball. Like there's just some of the balls are so poorly thrown. Like, some of them is on Ridley, but some of them are on the quarterback, and it's just like, I just think they got to sit him down. I don't even know who their backup is, but
it's Mason Rudolph, the great Mason Rudolph.
Oh, yikes!
I know.
I think he might be better at this point. I don't know, man. They're really bad. By the way, Joe Flacco, man, what is he, like 65 years old now? I think he's collecting Social Security. He's the president of the AARP these days. But man, I tell you, Joe Flacco looked significantly better than Anthony Richardson. And when they announced that they're going to go back to Richardson, I'm just like, okay, I know it's probably the right thing to do because he's the guy you spent the 4th overall pick on. You guess you got to roll with him. But if I were an owner of Michael Pittman or Jonathan Taylor or any fantasy options on that team, I would much prefer Joe Flacco as the quarterback. I think he's clearly better. But obviously, if you're a Colts fan, you don't want to hear that, right? You don't want to hear that the guy you spent a fourth overall pick is Flacco's better. That's not good news.
No, it's not. By the way, I had to see. I didn't I watched this game twice. I watched most games twice, but I was really paying attention to the 8 targets that really had. But and I know you used to keep track of this. The should be interceptions.
Yes.
On one of the targets to Ridley was intercepted. 3 others should have been intercepted. Just Ridley alone. so.
Like, Ridley's not playing great. I'm not defending Calvin Ridley by any means.
No.
But Levis is terrible.
No. And Ridley, he's lashing out to the media. He's like, I have to be involved early. It's like, bro, you chose this team. You took the money. And look, I get it. Like, you had a choice. Do you want to win or do you want more money? And you took the more money, which is fine. That was your choice. You got to respect it. But you can't complain now because you knew what you're getting into. It's like going to a great team and be like, oh, I'm not making enough money here. Well, it's like, yeah, that's the decision you made. So it's the opposite. Like, you knew what you're getting into. Like, you chose to play with Levis. Like, you can't complain. Like, you just got the money. Like, that's what you went for.
Also, speaking of players I once used to love, Trey Sermon. Like, I was so big on that. I thought this guy, the Niners, was going to be great. And the Eagles picked him up, and I was like, oh, he's going to be great. And he never sniffed the field. And then so, this week he was when Jonathan Taylor got hurt, I went out of my way to get Trey Taylor. I'm like, oh, Taylor's gonna be great. Or sorry, Sermon's gonna be great. I changed my mind. Sermon sucks.
Yeah, the Sermonator not looking too good. They need Taylor back.
It's amazing how like three years of like one like that's like the strong opinion. Like, I think Sermon's gonna be a great one. Like, I think I'm so confident. And then like this past week I'm watching him going, yeah, I don't know what I was seeing before.
Well, sometimes guys get worse. It does happen. Some guys get better, guys get worse.
If you have Sermon, you can cut him. He's useless.
Yeah, I agree. So running backs are Hall, Kamara, Chase Brown, Dobbins, Hunt, Chubb. Receivers, London, Neighbors, Scott. Yeah, we talked about this team. Would you do Deontay and Hall for Barkley? So same team, different trade. Would you trade Brees Hall and Deontay Johnson for Saquon Barkley? It's close. I mean, like if you think Deontay Johnson would be worth a lot less if Bryce Young is the starter again, then you're basically just trading Hall for Barkley, and which I think is good. I think you should. But if Dalton keeps starting, then Jonte is like a legit receiver too. So it's tough. You just don't know. If I would say this, if the Panthers announce that they're going back to Bryce Young in like a week or two, then I would try to make this trade, but maybe not now.
But the thing is, like, he also has like, if you're starting receivers like London, Neighbors, Godwin, Pittman, like you're always going to be starting. Like you're always going to be starting like London and Neighbors for sure over Johnson, and then like Godwin and Johnson, like you're probably gonna lean Godwin most of the time, and so it's like Johnson is your fourth receiver, probably. Like in all likelihood, you're not starting him much, so maybe he's expendable.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it makes sense. Let's see. It's very telling. The Titans' only win came after Levis exited injured. Yeah, and he threw the interception, by the way. I don't know if I told you that. So I bet Will Levis anytime interception. This is a Monday night game, right? I'm putting my son to bed, so I'm reading a book, and like he goes over to his corner, he takes out a book, and I'm like, while he's doing that, I check my phone, and I see like this like 3 minutes in the game, Will Levis already threw an interception. I'm like, oh, this is great! I already won my prop. Didn't even look at the game. Anyway, yeah, Trey Cement Shoes sermon. That's I love it. And Ridley had to take on a bigger payday to pay off his creditors. It's probably true. Anyway, so maybe he can't complain. All right, so late afternoon games, Chargers 23, Broncos 16. This is 23-0, and the Chargers fell asleep in the fourth quarter. The Broncos scored all their points there. They got all their production there. Bo Nix had a great fantasy day. He did not have a great like real day. He can run around really well, but that's all you're getting out of Bo Nix, I think. Devon Bailey led the team in receiving. I think he's an okay slot receiver. I think you could play him on DraftKings this week against the Saints, who can't cover slot receivers. So Bailey is like he's like 4,000 or 4,400 on the slate. So I would play him. With the Chargers, Dobbins. That you were all over Dobbins, and I was too. And then I got off of Dobbins, but you were on him all the way. 96 yards and a touchdown. He's been awesome. And this is against a good Denver run defense. So. Almost master-proof, I guess. The Chargers didn't throw. They threw 34 times, but they really spread it around. You might see Will Dissly got 4 for 26. Hayden Hurst got injured in the first quarter, so it was Dissly getting most of the tight end targets. Kamani Vidal had a 38-yard touchdown reception. We talked about running backs that you should own instead of like Dontavian Wicks. Vidal, I think, is in that territory because Gus Edwards is on IR. If Dobbins, who has a long injury history, gets injured, it's going to be Vidal getting most of the carries. So try to get Vidal on your team if you can afford a roster spot. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the one player in this game, I was watching this game live actually, falling asleep on my couch on Sunday afternoons as I typically do. I like Javonte Williams. Something is up with like there are moments where he's got some lanes. I'm like, that's a clear hole that like the Javonte Williams that I remember watching last year would have hit that hole, would have gotten 4 or 5 yards on that play. But he's like not seeing it, like he's kind of pitter-pattering, kind of looks like DeAndre Swift, like that, like the DeAndre Swift that when he's not playing well, is that like run side to sideline, but bounces everything out, kind of pitter-patters, like just hit the hole and go. And something's wrong with Javonte Williams. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just the offensive scheme doesn't fit him. Maybe he's got a baby mama that's driving him crazy. I don't know. Maybe he was up drinking the night before. I don't know what it is. Something, he doesn't look right. And it's a bummer because I was kind of touting him a little, not a lot, but I was like, I don't own him in any leagues, but I kind of liked him a little bit, like more than most people. I think in the summertime I was willing to draft him like in the 8th round and like 7th round, and I think most people were lower than that on him. So I just something's up with Javonte Williams. If you own him and you could unload him for something of value, you probably can't. But if you could, I would push to make that move.
I completely agree. He fumbled in this game, and we've seen Sean Payton bench him. In fact, he was going to bench him for Tyler Bidet, and then Bidet got hurt. So they went with Javonte Williams again. I want to point out Audric Estime played his first game. He had only 2 carries, 13 yards, but they did draft him. And so if they're going to bench Williams, I think Estime is another running back you should probably invest in over a spot over like a receiver you're not going to play. Just because like if Estime is named the starter there, like he's going to be productive. So he's another guy I've been drafting super late in best ball. Anyway, so we have Steelers 32, Raiders 13. This is a close game for a while. This final score was misleading. The Raiders had so many like turnovers or mistakes. Like Dylan Lobby fumbled the ball. They
on his first NFL carry.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so brutal. There's so many penalties. Like they had penalties negating a third down stop, a touchdown, an interception. A third down conversion. It's just like the Raiders just kicking themselves just repeatedly over and over again. It was so frustrating to watch. Brock Bowers is like the only good thing about this team. Now that Devontae Adams is gone, he was 9 for 71, and not even a good matchup. So like he's really impressive. He has a great matchup this week, against the Rams, by the way. So he might be the tight end to play on DraftKings. For the Steelers, George Pickens led the team in receiving. George Pickens, by the way, has a great playoff series of matchups. Like all 3 games are good. The problem is that like it's the quarterback throwing to him. The Steelers are going to go to Russell Wilson, sounds like, this week, which I don't understand. Like Fields has not been great, but he's 4-2. He's running well. He had 59 yards and two rushing touchdowns. Najee Harris had like the game of his life. Like, I don't understand where that came from because he looked awful before. Maybe it's just like the Raiders defense just being so bad because Christian Wilkins is on IR. But if you have Harris for some reason, just sell high as quickly as you can. Or if you wanted to see what he can do against the Jets run defense, which is not good, maybe wait till Sunday night and then you do it next week. But I would probably try to unload him as quickly as possible. So any other thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm confused by the Russell Wilson move. I don't, maybe there's things going behind the scenes we don't know. I don't know. It's weird. It seems odd to me. This offense already isn't dynamic. And I think Russell Wilson is a step backwards. Like Fields is not great, but like I just feel like this is anyway. So it's a struggle. George Pickens, like what a bummer. He's such a great player, but like being stuck in this offense is just such limiting him. He could be so great, and it's just a bummer to watch. Dylan Lobby, by the way, Lobby. I asked you about a couple weeks ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago. I asked you about him, whatever it was, because I was like, I've never seen this kid play. I don't know, and I'm like, is he good? What do you think? Like, could he be? Like, I think everything else. I think Alexander Madison ultimately sucks and will stall out. Zamir White sucks and he's injured. So I'm like, maybe this Lobby kid is worth a shot. Like, I don't know. And like literally his first NFL carry ever, like TJ Watt just busts through the seams, like punches the ball out. Like, not even that hard, just kind of punches it out. Like, and just, by the way, TJ Watt's just freaking, he's a man amongst boys. He's so good. I love, he's like, just certain players just love watch play. He's on the list. Like when he's playing, I just like stop and watch. I just love him. Anyway, these teams. Also, Mike Tomlin's comment about Devontae Williams was so funny. He was like last week I was preparing to play Devontae Adams. Yeah. He's like, and now this week I'm prepared to play Devontae Adams again. He's like, I'm seeing Devontae Adams everywhere.
That's funny.
But I think ultimately both of these teams suck. You don't really want any one of these two teams if you can avoid it. And even the good players on these teams are like, I mean, Brock Bowers is like good, but he's going to be limited because of the offense. And like George Pickens is an awesome player, but going to be limited. Like any of those guys could put up a goose egg any week because the offense sucks and it's not the player's fault.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And the Steelers need a quarterback. I think they're going to draft a quarterback this April. I would be surprised if they didn't. Anyway, let's move on from that dreadful game. Oh, by the way, you mentioned TJ Watt. Yeah, it's crazy how great TJ Watt has been this year, and yet the Steelers are only 19th in pressure rate. This just shows you that like no one else is getting after the quarterback except for TJ Watt.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of injuries. Like Alex Highsmith's been out. They lost a couple other guys to injury too. So they really have nothing outside of TJ Watt on the edge. So anyway, Falcons 38, Panthers 20. The Panthers led to 7-0 and 10-7. At halftime, it was 22-17. After three quarters, it's 28-20. So we had the Panthers down 28-20. We're driving the fourth quarter. Chuba Hubbard was getting like 10 yards a carry. The Fox announcers called them the Canadian Express. Like they're all excited. Like Hubbard with another great run. Like it was incredible to watch. Like he was moving the ball so well. And then Andy Dalton, for some reason, decides to like roll out to his right and like throw right to a cornerback. Like there was, I don't know, his receiver is just like covered completely. He just throws it right to the cornerback, intercepted. The Panthers defense gives up, and then they allow 10 more points and they lose 38-20. So this game was competitive for a while, and then the Falcons ran away with it. So it just goes to show that like, just Dalton, as he's been a lot better than Bryce Young, but he still kind of sucks too.
Which also shows you like he makes those choices like there it would give the coaching staff a reason to go back to Young at some point.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So Deontay Johnson 6 for 78 in a touchdown. Leggett 3 for 23 in touchdown. I like both those guys as long as Dalton is playing. Bryce Young, you can't. If they go back to Bryce Young, I would try to unload Johnson and Leggett as quickly as possible. Even Hubbard too. Because they're just going to be a fantasy wasteland with Bryce Young. Atlanta, Tyler Algier had more carries than Bijan Robinson. I think Bijan Robinson's not healthy. He keeps being on the injury report. And he keeps playing, but he's had. I think he was tapped with like 2 injuries. Like I forget what they were ahead of this week. So that might explain that. But it's kind of scary to play Bijan. Given that he's going to have fewer carries than Tyler Algier. I know he scored twice, but still, you can't count on those touchdowns every week. So, like, if you have him, you probably have to play him unless, like, you have a great bench. But it's just a crappy situation right now. At least until like he's going to be healthy. Drake London, great game. Mooney disappointed. He had a couple of good performances in a row, but he struggled. So anyway, any thoughts on this game?
I think I'm not as concerned about Bijan. When you watch the flow of the game, it's kind of like I didn't watch the whole game, but a chunk of it, like Tyler Algier's they're getting mixed in. Like Bijan's on these out snapping Tyler Algier significantly most games, and then in the red zone, he's pretty much getting all the carries and most of the snaps. I think he's getting more targets. So like, I think in meaningful moments of the game, Bijan is still like the main guy. Tyler Algier, by the way, is a good player. Like he's not a schlep. So like, I understand why the coaching staff wants to use him. Like he's a decent little player. And as I mentioned, I think in a lot of leagues, he's not owned. He's not widely owned, and he's like under 40% owned in like ESPN and Yahoo leagues. So like, if he's available in your league, if Bijan goes down, Algier's going to be a decent asset. So like, like I think what you're saying is right. Like if you're a Bijan owner, you're like you don't love to see these stats. Like you don't. This is not what you want to see. But it's not as bad. I think the stats maybe are a little misleading. The flow of the game, it's like Bijan's still the primary guy, and I expect him to be the primary guy. Throughout unless he were to get injured and he's out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If Bijan goes down, like combine these stats: 33 carries, 200 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Like. That's like Derrick Henry on crack, So yeah, I mean, yeah, that Algier the number 1 handcuff, I think, just because like you can play him, like even if he's a handcuff, like you can use him because he's getting carries. So
yeah,
it definitely should be owned. I can't believe he's not owned.
Although I mean, some of those yards that Bijan got was because he's a freak athlete that Tyler Algier wouldn't have gotten those same runs.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, so I bet this made you happy. Lions 47, Cowboys 9.
It's glorious.
It was fantastic. I loved the last play of the game though. Like no one saw this. I was like, holy crap! When they were kneeling down, look at this. 1st and 10, Detroit 44. Dan Skipper reported as eligible. Hooker kneels for -1. They made the guy eligible after he was ineligible in that game last year. Like they made him eligible for that kneel down. Like that's absolutely beautiful. They're trying to get like tackle eligible guys to score touchdowns. They were just toying with the Cowboys. It's so funny. I can't believe the Cowboys didn't fire Mike McCarthy this offseason. Jerry Jones, I said this multiple times. Jerry Jones was going to do it, and he got talked out of it, and he was going to interview Jason Witten. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he should fire the guy who talked him out of it. But this is only CD Lamb here. That's the only good thing Dallas had all game. Rico Dowdle caught 5 passes, but still not enough to be too relevant. And yeah, even Lamb was limited because they didn't play until the fourth quarter. With the Lions, Montgomery and Gibbs had the same number of carries, but Montgomery had 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they extended him too. So they just love him there, even though they spent a first round on Gibbs. Goff had an incredible game. He was 18 of 18 the game before, and now 18 of 25. So one thing I heard about the Lions receiving stats, like they just look so diminished here. Like St. Brown, 4 for 37. Touchdowns still, but Sam Laporta, a touchdown, but only 1 catch. Jameson Williams, 3 catches. So this may look a little bleak, and the stats were kind of diminished in the last game as well. But just keep in mind that Detroit's been playing with a huge lead in all these games. That's not always going to happen now because they lost Hutchinson. Their defense is going to be worse. And so if they're going to be playing from behind, you're going to see some monster games from St. Brown, some monster games from Laporta, some monster games from Williams. They have a lot of weapons here, including Tim Patrick, by the way, who's getting more involved. So these guys, their stats are going to be a lot better in negative script games. So just remember that. So any thoughts on this game?
I mean, I guess it's hard to know what games are going to be negative script wins or not. Like it feels. Yeah. Obviously, if you've got Laporta, you're starting him. If you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're starting him. Williams, if you've got Williams in your roster, you probably have other good options, right? I wonder. I'm still down on. I'm around St. Brown. I think as of this morning, I think he's the 23rd best receiver in standard so far year to date scoring. That's not what you want from a guy you draft. Most people draft him in the first round. I think most people would probably still value him as a first round guy. I wouldn't want to dump him in a trade, but I would test the waters to see what you could get for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like if people are going to value him like he's a top 7, top 10 player, I would be willing to trade him if you could get something that's legitimately top 10. Because I think you're going to I think this is what you're going to be the rest of the. I think he's going to be he's a top 25 player overall for sure, but I don't think he's a top 10 player overall going for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell low, but I think it's fair. Like if you can get what the value you got for him, then I agree. Anyway, Bengals Sunday night. Bengals 17, Giants 7. This is a completely lucky win that we had. First lucky win that we had in a big bet game. Because the Bengals, they got up to a 7-0 lead. Burrow had this like crazy 47-yard touchdown run out of nowhere, and then the Bengals couldn't score after that. They continuously shot themselves in the foot, but so did the Giants. So the Giants had this like 65-yard Darius Slayton reception. They got called back. They had interception in the end zone. So takeaways here is that Tyron Tracy looks so electric. Devin Singletary is going to come back, but like Singletary's played well this year. He led the league in most missed tackles per carry. So it's like, yeah, maybe it's going to be 50-50 split, but like Tracy has definitely earned the right to get more touches here. Malik Neighbors has not played the past 2 weeks, but he's progressed in concussion protocol. So it sounds like he's going to be back this week. As far as the Bengals are concerned, we have Chase Brown out carrying Zach Moss 10-6. Zach Moss fumbled and didn't get much work after that, but Chase Brown fumbled in the fourth quarter and he had the ball trickle out of bounds, and then he scored a touchdown, which gave me just like Todd Gurley vibes. Remember that Gurley game where he fell down at the 2-yard line, and I had the Bengals at -3.5, and it was 10-7 at the time. And like when he was running, I thought for a second he was going to kneel down, and he didn't. So thank goodness he didn't. So Chase Brown looks. We talked about him. He looks a lot better than Zach Moss, and he deserves more touches. I think he'll get them as the year goes on. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think Chase Brown is he's clearly the best guy there. I think you're 100% right too on the Devin Singletary or the running back situation with the Giants. Like, I think I would have assumed that when Singletary's back, he's the full-time guy. But I think that's an assumption that would be probably not the case. I think you would imagine that Tracy will get maybe it's 60-40. Who knows? I don't know what it'll be, but I would imagine Singletary's he's not played well enough to kind of just to cement the primary ball carrier there. That team, Daniel Jones is terrible. And by the way, do you know that Daniel Jones has not thrown a touchdown in a home game since December of 2021? Did you know that?
Well, he'll be put to the test this week against the Eagles defense. Or the Eagles defense put to the test, I guess.
Yeah, the Giants gave him $160 million. Although the guaranteed money's out this year, so I'd imagine he's going to be gone. Anyway, the Bengals. This team is so frustrating to watch because they look like they should be so good. They've got so much talent. They have moments where they look like they're going to be great. And as you said it perfectly, like they shoot themselves in the foot over and over. So many just dumb mistakes, just mental lapses, fumbles, and penalties. Just like, it's very like, and it just is that coaching? I don't know what it is. From a fantasy standpoint, like if you got Jamar Chase, you're starting him. If you got Joe Burrow, you're probably starting it. Like if you got Higgins, you're starting him. Like you got the guys, you got to go with them. But like it's just frustrating because I think this team could be so much more, and so it's frustrating to watch. I could see why someone would not want to start Chase Brown or not want to start Higgins. Like I get why someone would say, no, I don't want a Zach Moss. I don't want these guys because they're so inconsistent. I don't want to put Burrow in my lineup because they could be like, I could totally understand it. So I get the argument to why you'd want to sit these guys, but they're just so good. You don't want to, you can't sit them. So it's kind of a goofy situation. Doesn't seem like there's any solution to it.
No, I think it's bad coaching. By the way, my conspiracy theory with Daniel Jones is that they're going to pass on the quarterbacks this April because the April after that, Arch Manning is eligible for the draft, and I think they want to continue the Manning legacy with the Giants. And so I think they're going to tank for Arch Manning in 2025.
It's a lot of bad football between now and then. Ugh.
I know, but that's if they don't like these quarterbacks, they're not going to be in position to get Shedeur Sanders. So I think that's what they have to do. Bills 23, Jets 20. I don't know what the Jets are doing in this game. They had a 32-yard missed field goal. They had a 43-yard missed field goal. They had 110 yards worth of penalties. They had a penalty that negated a touchdown. They had a drop touchdown by Garrett Wilson. And yet they were still in position to win at the end. Mike Williams runs a bad route, and then they trade for Devontae Adams because of the Mike Williams miscue there. So Alan Lazard continues to be great, but he's going to be relegated to the number 3 receiver now. So if you somehow came up with Lazard in your fantasy league, condolences there because he's going to get fewer touches or fewer targets. I don't think Wilson's going to be too impacted. He'll see like a slight downtick. I think Lazard is the guy who's going to see the biggest impact. Breece Hall looked great. We had the player prop we had in this game was over 25.5 receiving yards. He got that like in the first half. So he had 56 receiving yards. So that was an easy one. For the Bills, Ray Davis looked awesome. Unfortunately, I drafted Ray Davis in like almost every league, and I ended up cutting him because I just needed like a bye week filler. So that was disappointing. But Ray Davis looked great. So otherwise, Dalton Cade, a good performance, 651. But otherwise, the receivers were pedestrian as always, and that's why they trade for Amari Cooper. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, Ray Davis, by the way, I mean, he had 2 carries before this game, like in his NFL career, like he looked great. And I watching him play, I'm like, I think this guy is better than James Cook. Maybe, maybe that's too far, but like I watch him play, and I'm like, I think this might be a better fit for the offense. Maybe that's too strong, but am I totally crazy? And then. What's going on with Shakir? Like, I thought this guy was going to be good, and I by the way, I had a elite Rainmakers card of Mr. Shakir, and so I'm glad I've got that, and I'm going to play that. Oh no, never mind, I'm not going to.
Let's enjoy your digital card game. Shout out to John Sanders.
Am I wrong? Does Ray Davis look better than James Cook to you?
I think he's a better runner. Now, receiver, I would still give that to James Cook. Although Ray Davis showed impressive receiving ability. I didn't.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He's not a schlep.
Yeah. No, I think he's a legit guy. And if you're James Cook owner, I think you have to be a little bit nervous that Ray Davis is going to eat into some of the workload. I think it might. I don't think it's going to be quite 50-50, but it might be like 65-35 going forward, 60-40 maybe. And Ray Davis might get the goal line work. So I think you have to worry about that if you're a Cook owner.
Yeah.
So Belichick was beside himself every time Jets defensive front let Allen scramble to his right. I would love to listen to Belichick. Like I said, I can't just because I'm writing stuff up. And yeah, Bungles' offense line is getting dominated by Giants front. I thought Burrow was going to go off on a stretcher. Well, wait till you see what happens against Myles Garrett. I think it's going to be pretty rough for the Bengals, as usually is in Cleveland for them. All right, that's about it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Really appreciate it. Thank you, especially to Slew for the 555 super chat. Thank you so much.
You're the man, Slew.
Absolutely. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store, or visit thecapsfake.com. Kenny, do you want to talk about this or anything else?
I've got no new content recently, but there's lots of good articles in there. Check it out. I've been working on stuff, but guys, I'm sorry. I've got a job and a wife and a kids and hurricanes to deal with. I can't sit around writing the way Walt does. I'm not as good at it. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is great content on the site, though. The people want more, Kenny.
I am a man of the people, so I will work on it.
Think about this: if Kenny had Shapiro and Walt had DeSantis, would you all make a trade between yourselves? I wouldn't trade DeSantis. I know you wouldn't either.
No, I love DeSantis.
No, Shapiro's the worst. I don't know. He's not the worst. There've been way worse governors, but no, Shapiro sucks. I don't want Shapiro. So,
by the way, I think we'll look back in 10 years and maybe we'll see that Kamala Harris made a big mistake not picking Shapiro.
Yeah, I think so. I think she'd have a much better chance in PA with Shapiro.
Maybe after tonight's interview, it won't matter. After her Brett Baer affair, maybe nothing she did would matter.
Fair enough. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to a little bit of it, and it looked pretty bad. So I mean, there are going to be stupid people who vote for her. Those aren't going to be changed. But I think any independent voter who is still unsure, I think if they listen to that, I think that they should probably know where they're going with this. So K-Making says, if you're betting the golf tournament that starts in Vegas tomorrow, you need to bet the early starters before 8 a.m. You need them to finish close at noon. Heavy winds predicted after 1 p.m. Okay, yeah, thank you. I don't look at golf during the NFL season. I do golf from February to August. The PGA Championship is the last. Not the PGA Championship. The Tour Championship is the last thing I look at. I just don't have time to because my model takes like hours to do, and I just don't have the time in the football season. But I definitely appreciate that. I might do a DraftKings lineup. I might look at like stochastics projections and just do that if I have time. But
I'm going to check my PGA Rainmakers cards and see what lineups are going to play this week.
You had some good cards. You did have some good cards, and it's producing some weekly revenue for you. So it's a bummer that it's gone. We had last fantasy question. Bub means a starter sit. So he needs to start 2 receivers and 2 flexes. He has Lamb and Adunze on a bye. All options are London, Sutton, Leggett, Means, Shakir, Bateman, and Ray Davis. So the problem is, like, you don't know if Ray Davis is going, you don't know if James Cook is going to start or sit by the Thursday game. So you have to make the decision. I would absolutely play London over him. Sutton has a tougher matchup, but I'd play Sutton over him. I think I'd play Leggett over him too. Outside of that, I don't know. It's a close between Ray Davis and Means. You know what I would do? I would not play Means. I think I would put in Ray Davis, and if he doesn't play, I'd slot in like Shakir, just because Ray Davis is going to have a great game if he does play. And I don't think that Means is going to do all that much.
If Davis is if Davis is getting the primary ball carrying responsibilities, then I would definitely want him, and I think I'd be willing to wait for him. So, Yeah, I would plan on having Davis, but if Cook plays, then maybe you slide in Shakir. Even if Cook does play, maybe you're rolling the dice. It also depends on what you like. If you think your opponent sucks, and you just want to have more safe lineup, then like maybe that's not as safe. But if you think like your opponent's really good and you feel like you need to shoot the moon a little bit, like then I would be willing to roll the dice for Davis.
Yeah, and last one for real. Which running back should he target if he's trading Hurts and one of his receivers? Debo, DK, Tyreek, Amari. I mean, that's if you're trading Hurts and one of those receivers, I feel like you have to go first round value.
Yeah, 100%.
Like a Brees Hall or even Saquon Barkley might be a little too much, but like a who else is there? So a Kyron Williams or Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, like one of those guys. Like
yeah, that's what you want to go for.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, like about 15 minutes after the Thursday game. We're gonna have Andy Isco on again. So I'm excited to see where he falls in these Week 7 games. A Saturday with Tom as usual, and then next week same schedule as always. So really appreciate you guys, and especially Slew for the 555 super chat. Kenny, love doing this and the political show with you. We should have aired the political show. That would have gotten a lot of feedback there. But anyway, maybe next time. But we'll talk to you later, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.